Okay, I'm working on the sound. Hang on. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm working on the sound. Hang on. I think we're live. Let me turn down my sound. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to try to look for the chat box. Go to my home page here. All right, I'm almost ready. I haven't done this in a while, so here we go. Okay. Okay, I can see the chat box. So for Facebook, and I can see it for the YouTube. Oh, we got it. Okay, there. I'm unmuted now for YouTube. Let me double check YouTube. Can somebody just shoot me a quick chat that I am, you can hear me in, if you're watching in YouTube. I know you can hear me in Facebook. So I'm going to try to go to my channel here and see if I can hear myself. Let's see, let's watch this. In Facebook. Okay, got it. So I'm going to try to... Got it. Okay. Let's get started then. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. And I'm going to... I have a lot of windows open here, so it all looks good. Somebody tell me in chat. I'll kind of keep my eye on the chat if there's any issues. Okay, there we go. I've got the two chats right there. Yeah. And if there's any issues, let me know. So what we're going to do today is, okay. Oh my God. We're going to do this sunset today. And I actually really like the colors. So what the colors are, and I have my swatch diary here to kind of go over. This is something that I actually made, and you can kind of see swatch diary that I made because I have a million of these, right? And kind of like with colors and swatches. So this is actually good to have. Not saying it's not good to have, but it's good to have. And is the YouTube working? It looks like it's frozen up. I could really use somebody letting me know in chat if YouTube is working. It looks like I froze up, but I don't know. Okay, it says I'm streaming. So anyway, I'll just kind of keep going, see what happens, because there is a delay. There is a delay. Huh. Oh, okay. Yeah, weird. Sorry. There's just a delay, so I am good on YouTube. So anyway, we'll get started. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, I love the colors, and if you're here watching, maybe you like the colors too. So I wanted to do something different, than the normal kind of reds and purples and that kind of color for a sunset. So I used yellow, raw sienna. I always say yellow ochre, but I mean raw sienna, phthalo turquoise with a touch of ultramarine blue, permanent sap green with some turquoise for here. And then this is more neutral tint, which is a purpley color. And I actually did a lot of sepia. That's right. I did a lot of sepia to kind of knock back, I call it knocking back the colors, like if they get too bright or something like that. So what I'm going to do super quick is, this is something you really should do before every painting. It's just a good habit to get into, is to choose your colors first, right? Choose your colors first and then stick to them, because paintings get too busy when you use, you know, a dozen colors right from your palette. Although I have done that. I think a lot of us do that because we have all these beautiful colors. So I'm going to maybe move this over just a touch. You can see more of the palette. Let me know how everything is. If anybody wants to just shoot me a quick chat. I got the chat going on. I think I can see it. So what I'm going to do is, here's the, I think it's kind of the star of the show, the yellow ochre. Oh, did I say that again? I meant raw sienna. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the raw sienna, and it looks pretty dark there, but what I did is so I dipped in water, and now I'm going to just kind of tone it down, get a different value of it, right? So that's a really, really light value of the raw sienna. And I did actually, I forgot to say, I did do a little Indian yellow, which is kind of orangey. It's kind of, maybe see it right there. It's kind of like, it's similar to a cadmium orange. Let's put it down here, right? So these two mixed together are really pretty. So this is kind of why I do the larger swatch area on the bottom, so you can kind of mix the two together and see what you get, right? And then that way, if you like it, if you like the color, you have a reference, right? You can go back and say, hey, I really liked that ocean. And all I'm doing is dipping my brush in water. And then now I'm just kind of blending the two. So you can see how different it brightened it up a little bit, the raw sienna. So that's kind of what's around here. So that's just kind of a quick overview of what you should do before, perfect world, what you should do before you started painting. This is the phthalo turquoise, which is really pretty, and it's really strong, super strong pigment. So I used a lot of water, which is another reason why this one is good for wet on wet. Right? Where you wet on wet, I'll go over wet on wet quickly here. Wet on wet is when you use, when you're wetting the paper first, right? So the paper is going to be, I'm going to wet here's my paper ready to go. I'm going to wet the paper and then apply the color. So I'll put this away, and I actually just realized I didn't put the tape, which is okay, because I can show you what I did to stretch it. So this is Arches watercolor paper, cold pressed, 140 pound, meaning it's not as thick as the other, as this one, as the other ones. Oh, I thought I had a little chat here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it's not as thick as the other one. It's a little thinner. It's basically this one, so you can see, where other papers are really thick. And I have some over here that I'm going to be working on next, so I kind of have it ready. You can see the difference. See how thick that is? And then the difference between the two. So just so you know, that's what I'm working on. So I'm working on so when you work on the thinner paper, it's a good idea to stretch it, because if you are a watercolor artist and you are painting, you probably realize, or you probably have had it happen where the paper warps, right? It gets all bumpy. Well, I can't stand that, especially when I'm doing landscapes, right? You don't want like these hills. So what you do, and I have a video actually I think on YouTube, how to stretch your paper, is you wet everything, right? You get the paper soaking wet. This is a gator board, okay, which can hold water. It's like a foam board, but it's waterproof. Then when it's wet, super wet, I staple it, right? You can see it's all stapled. Then, see if I can go out a little bit. No, I think that's far out I can go. Then, so I have a nice kind of a clean edge. I tape over it, right? So you have like that nice white border. So I'm sorry, I thought I did that before I started. I spaced out. Of course, I'm trying to get everything to work. It's like a good half hour of tech stuff because I don't do it enough. So like getting all the tech stuff ready before I go live. But it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm doing a series, because I want to get back into doing lives. I really enjoy it. And I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy just helping people. So I'm getting back into the lives. That's why I'm doing 2 a week. I figure by the end of next week's, I'll be a pro at going live, right? So there you go. So super quick. And this tape is really good tape. It's kind of the best artist tape that I found, and I like to do white. You can only get it on Amazon. It's pro artist tape. I'll send a link to everything that I recommend. I'll put a link. I just want to double check because I don't know if I zoomed in or if I want to kind of see. Oh, there you go. I zoomed in by accident. I meant to zoom out. Okay. That looks good. So let's get started. I'm kind of looking at 2 screens, so and they have a little delay. That looks good. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my tissue ready. Always have your tissue ready. Tissue or paper towel, something like that. Getting the lighting ready. And then I'm going to put a photo here. Okay, let's get started here. So the horizon is not quite in the middle. It's a little lower, but it's not that often, that it's in the middle. If it is in the center, that's okay. The trees are kind of in the center. I think I made mine a little higher because I knew I was going to do the little cattails. So there's a kind of a reference photo I'm using from Pixabay, but I changed it around. So I'm just going to do I may go a little darker just so you can kind of see on the screen. So I have that's my horizon right there. And then I'm actually going to go a little lower. So I'll have the trees. I'm going to do the trees about right here. Right? And then they go down. And then there's it looks like there's land. Kind of, that's mountains or something over there. So that's why they're blue, a little different color. So it's not just all kind of greenish there. So this will be the trees. Then there's kind of a nice break in the water. It's like a sheen. So I left room for that. So I did like a little line because you really want your sketching, because when you're doing your first layers, you're going kind of fast, especially when you do wet on wet. So you don't want to have to think about where you're you don't want to get in a certain area, right? You don't have to think about, I don't want to get down into the tree area, or I want to leave that area white. So it kind of takes the headache out of thinking. Anything to help thinking, right? Any help. I could use any help. Okay, so now I'm going to want a little much there. So I'll leave that there. Now I'm going to do the sun about right there. So I'm just going to kind of erase just so I know. Leave a break there for the sun. Also a little break here for the reflection of the sun. And then it kind of goes down. So what I'll do is when I put down the color, I have a tissue and I blot that up. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so let's get started on the first layers, the fun part. Let me get, oh, I thought I had my, what did I do with my, oh, well, I don't have my big, I'll have to run and get it for the second layers. My big brush to, I still left it by the sink. Okay, that's okay. We'll get started. So I'll just wet everything with this brush. And what I'm going to do is kind of a lot of water. And I'm going to do, so I'm going to basically do the top. I'm going to avoid water around the mountains. Not a ton. I mean, because the mountains are dark, it'll cover. But I'm going to avoid the water in this area. Because I want that, I like that white sheen. So I'm putting water everywhere else. And I'm telling you because it might not be able to see on camera. So I'm kind of I'm putting water in there. And yeah, I already got it a little dirty. So now I'm really getting it on there. And I'm going to avoid that middle area. And it's okay if I get a little water on the mountain ridges. That's okay because I don't want a hard line anywhere. So I'm just putting water down and giving it, like 30 seconds or whatever, just to absorb, let the paper absorb it. I kind of like to do that. Then I'm going to the bottom part. And if you notice, I'm actually kind of purposely putting the water like this, or the water like this, because the water in the ocean, it's not horizontal. It actually goes like this, which is nice, right? It makes it more interesting. So not everything is horizontal. So that's how I'm going to apply the color in the ocean area. There we go. Yeah, I'm kind of just letting it soak in, taking my time with this part, making sure I got all the areas, no puddles. And I do have my painting, my board, on a angle. It's like a 10-degree angle. Just, you can kind of see it's at a 10-degree angle, which is good because then the paint flows. Using the same brush. Any questions so far? Because once I start this, I can't stop for a few minutes. So looks like no chatting. Okay. And why is the YouTube still stuck on? Let me see. Oh no, I'm sorry, Facebook people. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it looks like I'm live. Okay, I had to refresh for the YouTube. Okay, sorry. All right, just want to make sure I'm all good and I'm all streaming because I want to make sure this is recording too because I want to, guys, be able to watch the replay, right? So that's important. Okay, that's okay because I kind of wanted to give it a minute to soak in. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. I'm going to take my, I don't want to say the wrong one, raw sienna. Let me get my raw sienna first here. Now, this is a bit of a trick because you don't really want the yellow and the blue to blend in the sky because that makes what? Green, right? So you got to just kind of lay them down next to each other. And I'm getting a nice puddle of my raw sienna. And then I think I'll just put that on. So, and again, I'm going to do it at an angle. I think that's one thing that makes this painting so interesting too, or the sunset so interesting, is because it's at an angle as well. Like the clouds are kind of coming in at an angle. So there you go. So now I'm going to just let that sit. And this again is just the first layers. Actually, let me get the... And the paint is only going to go where the water is, right? So it's not, even if I tilt it, the paint is not going to go in here because the water isn't in there. Okay. And I'm really not afraid of messing up on this layer because, you know, it's the first layer. I'm going to do a couple more layers. Same thing. Now my sun is over here. So I'm just going to kind of pick up a little bit with the tissue, right? And keep that area kind of clean of the raw sienna. Now, let that just kind of absorb and bleed. And I'm going to get my, oh boy, I should have cleaned my palette. I forgot, sorry. Yeah, messy. I'm a messy artist, what can I say? I thought I had a cleaner area. Okay, so make sure you can see it. There we go. So this is phthalo turquoise, and I'm just touching it with a little bit of sepia I have over here to kind of make it a little, and then a little bit of ultramarine blue. And these are all colors that, you know, are pretty and are kind of around, right? Now this is a nice color, so you can put it in the Swatch diary or what I did with it. Anyway, okay, so this is drying. I gotta get going. Now you can see how much the yellow kind of moved around. If I don't want all that yellow there, look at that. I can just take my tissue. If I don't want any hard lines, I take my tissue and just wipe it up. Or you can take a spray bottle and loosen it up too. But I do want kind of a big splash of yellow right there. So now I have this blue that I like. I'm just getting that in here. See how it turned green a little bit there? If it turns green, just blot it up. Okay, and then I'm gonna go do a streak here. And I'm purposely leaving some white too. I kind of made this cool cloud over on the first one I did. There's like this cool cloud in the reference photo, so I was trying to kind of make something fun. I think I'll add a little more blue. And just kind of let that absorb a little bit, make a fun cloud. Let's get some blue over here. All right. And then maybe a little more blue here. And that looks pretty good. So, all right. I'm just kind of watching it. And now I rinsed my brush. So my brush, and I always, again, have a tissue because when I rinse my brush, I can blot it, right? So it's kind of damp, right? But just, and it's wet enough to where I can soften the edges and make some soft, fluffy clouds. And I squeeze it, right? So now it's pretty dry, and then I can lift and lift. Now this is just the first layer, so I'm not going to get any details or anything going on. I'm just kind of making, kind of blending everything. So if I see a hard edge, I'm just kind of picking it up. And again, like I said, I kind of want some white. I kind of like the white. All right, now I'm keeping an eye on what's going on down here. And I'm going to use the same blue right in here before it starts drying. Notice how I'm holding my brush. Looks a little washed out. I got the window right by I think the sun is hitting it. So now I don't want any hard lines. So that's why I'm adding some water. And then I'm kind of remembering do a little bit of the reflection. And I think I'm gonna pick up a little bit here. I think picking up the paint is just as important as laying, right? Painting it down. And it's okay if it gets a little green there. I'm not really too worried about it. Yeah, that looks a little better. It was a little washed out there. Okay, so let me get a little more. Oh, my yellow is creeping into my raw sienna. Bad raw sienna. Okay. Get a couple more tissues. Get some fresh blue. So this is phthalo turquoise, and I'm just kind of hardly dabbing it with a touch of sepia to knock it back a little bit. And I'm actually going to add a little, I think, pink in the water. While it's still wet. And it's drying quickly. And it always looks different when it's dry, so you can't really. Now this is this red is permanent rose. It's kind of like an opera rose, but opera rose is not light fast. So I'm doing a little permanent rose, meaning it's light fast, it's permanent, right? And it's drying, so that's okay. I'm going to do a little pink here. What I'm going to do is probably spray it. I'm kind of letting it stain the paper. I think I'm going to go for a little bit here. I didn't in the first one, but I think I'm going to do a little pink in here. Fun. Let's see. So I wet my brush. I blotted with the tissue, so it's pretty clean, but it's wet. I think what I'm going to do is just, and you don't want to overwork either, especially your first layer. It's just about getting kind of smooth lines. There you go. And you got to kind of watch, I really was watching what's happening in the sky, what happens with this. And okay, so here's my sun. I want to make sure my reflection is right. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is do the yellow, more yellow around the sun, and then blot it. So you got to make sure you have your, let's just kind of soften this here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is in the camera, take a tissue, have it ready, right? Like have your finger just kind of, there's a lot of ways to do a little, the round circle of the sun, but I kind of like to do it this way. And it basically just blotting. So what I'm going to do is take some water, and I'm going to just kind of gently go over it because it's drying pretty fast. I do have the heater on still. Then grab a little bit of the raw sienna, and this time I'm going to have a little bit of the Indian yellow, and so it's a little brighter. It has like a little bit of it's almost like a cadmium yellow. There we go. Then that'll give it kind of a nice streak effect or bright effect. Now, before it dries, right, you have your tissue ready and you just kind of lift it up. And then it's going to bleed a little bit back in there. And then you just kind of keep watching it and lift it up. And then we can do, I'm going to do, that's green. I got green on there. So I'm just watching it. Just watching it. Getting my blue, a little sepia. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to lots of water with my phthalo turquoise. Lots of water here. I want it really light. And that makes kind of like that placid part of the lake there. And then I can kind of pick it up again. And that's kind of nice. The yellow is leading into that. That's kind of nice. Okay. And oh, I got a little drop there, but I'm not gonna panic. Okay, good. So again, this is just the first layers. I do have a little heater here, a little craft dryer. I'm gonna dry it so we can keep moving. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I will do a touch of, while this blue is still wet, I'm gonna do a touch of the pink. And that will make a nice kind of a pretty violet. And then I'm going to end up doing some really darker colors there. So I could probably go a little darker here. I think I'll just wait and do that in the second layer because I do want to get the drying here. So sometimes the mic cuts out the noise of the dryer, so we'll see. But if it's noisy, I apologize. If you want to mute your volume. This is just a craft dryer. I kind of like what's happening right there. I'm gonna leave it. I think with the second layer, it'll blend in nicely. And the kind of like good thing with the thinner arches, or 140-pound arches paper, is it does kind of dry quickly. So a lot of things change after it dries, right? The colors kind of, a couple shades lighter. So here we go. Now we're going to get the darker colors in. So, well, you kind of have the that's the painting that's up in the corner, but just to show you real quick. So now I'm going to wet it again and get a lot of pigment on my brush, right? And do the streaks there. And this took probably about 3 layers to get this as dark. So I'll do the second layer, do the trees, and then I'll probably do a 3rd layer in the ocean. So I'm going to get going. I know I was a little late. So what I'm going to do now is I'm pretty much going to do the exact same thing, but just not as much as far as the sky. Just kind of get those more definitive streaks of the sun. So I've got my raw sienna here. I'm going to add a little bit of the Indian yellow right? Just a touch of water. Now this is important too. Get your puddles ready. You know, I know you're anxious to start painting and everything, but you got to get your puddles ready. And you don't have to use, like right now, if you don't want to go and rinse your brush because you got a lot of paint on your brush, you can use another brush. Like a lot of times I'll use my small size 6 or 4 and make my puddles. And then when I can just dive right in. And then that way you're not wasting a lot of paint, you know, you can just make your puddle. So anyway, so now I have my good yellow. I have my blue. I think, oh, look, I'll just use this brush to get a nice blue, my blue ready to go, which is phthalo turquoise and a touch of sepia, that's what sepia looks like. It's like a diluted, like a brown black kind of a color, you can see. And it can get really dark, so it can take over. So I'm going to just mix that in there. And I want my puddles creamier this time, so I don't, because I want the color to be darker, right? So I don't want a wet, like a real watery puddle, because that dilutes the pigment. Okay, so I have my 2 main colors that I'm going to do. Let's see what happens. And I have a sponge that I blot my brush on. So now what we're going to do, and I think I left my other brush, is it the Hake brush? I think I left it in the kitchen by the sink. I'm so sorry. I'm going to run and get it because it's the perfect brush to wet your paint. Sorry, hang on. Yeah, okay, I'm back. I'm back. Okay, I'm back. So this is the brush. This is a great brush. So what I'm going to do is, I have some semi-clean water here. This brush holds a ton of water, and so I'm basically dipping it in, letting it absorb, and it's great to re-wet the paper. So why are we re-wetting? We dried it and then we re-wet it, right? Well, because it was a damp state, and when it's damp, that's when you get the cauliflowers and that sort of thing. So the best way to control and to get a darker pigment is to dry it, wet it again. That way you have an even level of water on the paper. You don't have like some damp areas, some dry areas. So here I soaked the Hake brush, and hopefully I don't have any color on there. Okay, and I'm just going to really gently, because I don't want to pick anything up, just going to gently wet it. So you can see why I really wanted this brush. And then if I tilt it, maybe you can kind of see, I'm not going over any area really twice, really just because I don't want to lift anything. It holds so much water. There we go. There, now I have a nice even, and I'm kind of purposely tilting it to see, making sure I have an even application of water, right? So now I take my Happy flat brush. This is a wash 3/4. Love this brush. And I'm going to pretty much do the exact same thing, but you're going to see it's going to be darker. It's going to be darker because I have more pigment on my brush. There we go. Right? My first puddles were real watery. And that's Lulu. She was taking her nap, but she'll stop in a sec. And then there's like a little color right there, and I'm gonna blot it, so I'm not too worried. I'm just gonna let it absorb, and then I want to get in here real quick before it all dries, See, now I have a nice even water, right? And you can see, I'll hold it up to the camera. You can kind of see how nice. So I kind of want to mimic this streak, which is kind of this streak. And then I have a streak up here. So I'm going to mimic that one. Okay, so now we have kind of a nice bright pigment on there. Just going to let that do its thing. Before I get the blue on there, I'm going to just, anything that looks like it's kind of has a hard edge. I really like what's going on in there. You know what I could do before it dries? Blot. Okay, so it's kind of dry, and then we can make some little ripples. There. And like that's it. Less is more. Okay, cool. So the yellow, before I put the blue on, I'm just gonna blot that. There. That looks good. Blot that a little bit so it's really nice and white. Okay. Now I'm going to do the blue. Rinse my brush. I got a lot of sepia in there. I'm just going to touch. I'm going to add a little ultramarine to this, ultramarine blue, just to kind of warm it up a little bit, just for a little bit of contrast of the cool and the warm blues. You kind of got to mix your own, and it all depends on the colors that you have, because every manufacturer, their pigment, so like your ultramarine, it could be different than mine. Okay, good. So let's do some blue streaks in here and get more blue over the mouth. Oh, good. It's turning a little violet. That looks nice. Probably because of the ultramarine in there, it's going to turn a real pretty violet. Then let's go a little dark up here. I do want to kind of, I like the white up here. Oh, let's play with our little happy cloud over here. Let's see if we can make some kind of swirly cloud. And then, so this is pretty yellowy over here. So what I'm going to do before I add the blue, because I don't want green, I'm just going to pick it up a little bit with the tissue. Give a little color on there. Okay, and then I think I'm going to go up like that. And up like that. And then it's good to have a scratch piece of paper nearby, because while I have this blue on my brush, you can practice your strokes, right? Before you get it on the paper. Definitely recommend doing that. Looks like some fun colors here. I know I'm going to go over the hour time limit, but that's okay. I was late starting. And there will be the replay, so if you have to go, I totally get it. But I'm just having so much fun. I think I'll just keep going till I'm finished. All right, so look at isn't that cool? When that dries, that kind of looks like the mist in the ocean, right? This I'll take my brush to, because that's looking green. And then this, let's smooth that out too. So you kind of have to watch and see what's happening and adjust. See how I picked that right up? Get rid of that green. There we go. Rinse my brush, blot it. And then I was able to pick it up. I get some of that white back in there. Right? So it looks nice and streaky. Oh, I'm splashing on the other painting. Okay. Let's get some streaks in there. Then I think this isn't blending as much as I wanted. And that's okay, because there is going to be a little land there. I'm going to put some little mountains or something there, so I'm not too worried how this area looks. But I do want to make sure my sun doesn't get covered, so I'm just going to blot a little bit. And then when you blot it, it kind of looks cool because the paint is still, because it's so wet, the paint still kind of bleeds into it. That's how you get that misty look. Okay, so now this is still pretty wet, this little placid area. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to start adding a little of the Payne's gray, which is like a purplish gray, right? Bluish. No, it's more of a bluish gray. Neutral tint is more purple. So now I'm going to kind of do a little bit of this mixed in with the turquoise. And because I am going to do the trees there, I kind of want to get in a few little dark streaks and just to like give some information that that is water too, you know. And then this is going to be the reflection of the mountains. So this is, while it's really wet, I want to kind of do the reflections of the mountains. And with that, I'm going to a darker color. And I just kind of do some streaks. And then if you get, like, say if I got too much pink on my brush, I can just kind of blot it and get some fresh blue or whatever color you're using for the reflections. So yeah, so let's go a little darker here. And then those are trees. They kind of are going to be a little pointy. I can kind of just use the brush and pull it up. So I'm preparing, right, for the trees right here. And I think I'm going to get a little bit of, rinse my brush just a little bit, and then get a little bit, whoa, that took over, the turquoise. I have to rinse that off. See what happens? You just never really know. All right, so I'm going to just use this pure turquoise because I think I like, this is getting kind of dark, and I know they'll bleed together nicely. And I'm holding my brush, sorry if I'm blocking it, but I'm holding my brush straight up and down just to kind of get a blend. There we go. And then now the waves kind of start, you kind of start like this, right? So now what I'm going to do is just start doing, and then because it's nice, it's so wet here, I'm going to do as much as I can while the paper's evenly wet, right? Just get a little bit more mixed in with my, and then there's, and it gets, as it gets closer, you're going to have more information, more detail. So I'm going to start doing just a little bit of waves right in here, and these are going to dry a lot lighter. So it's kind of a perfect time to play around with the water, see what kind of colors you can get. But again, look at all these colors I'm getting from just a few colors. I haven't gone into any other colors that we didn't talk about. The Payne's gray. I didn't talk about that earlier. Okay, so now I'm just now this will all just kind of dry and blend in together. And this is why you really need that third layer. So let's get some color over here. See, it's drying over here. That's right, but that's okay. I can re-wet it. And my sun looks pretty good. I kind of like what's going on. Kind of like this little cloud there. So what I think I'm going to do is wet my brush a little bit. And this is all going to be covered by the tails anyway, the cat tails. So I'm not really too worried about this area. But there, I kind of like what happens there with that. We can do a quick, right? It's kind of looking green. So I'm going to, I think I'll wait for that area to dry because it's looking green and it's blending with the blue. So look what happened there. That's kind of cool. Makes it look misty. And okay, I think actually I should have gone up a little higher with this. See, that's why you gotta have your pencil marks with the reflection. So again, while it's still kind of wet, I'm getting my Payne's gray and I'm gonna go more like right there for the reflection of the trees. Okay, I'm gonna dry this after I'd finish this little part up and then do the trees because that will give it some structure that I think it needs right now. There. And when when you hand dry it or use your dryer, you get a different kind of effect than if you like let it dry overnight kind of thing. Now it's still nice and wet here. I think what I'm going to do is I like so I'm just taking a tissue. I kind of like the long brightness of even though the cattails are going to be here, it'd be nice to have something really light behind them. Okay, rinse, blotted. Let's see. I'm going to lift this a little bit. And actually, I kind of like it with a wet brush because it's going to create a little bit of almost like a little bleed that will look good. Okay, so I'm going to dry this part. Okay, and then I'll put in the mountains. And my little artsy fartsy cloud over here looks kind of good. Going Van Gogh. All right, while I'm drawing, I'm going to check out the chat. If anybody wants to say hi in the chat, that would be nice. Let me know where you are watching from. I know I have some watchers, I can see. I have some people watching. But, okay. Okay. I don't really see any chats. Really want to try over here just because I'm going to do the horizon right now. So let's get that dry. Which is okay, even if it's not totally dry. Again, we'll get that kind of a bleed. And then I really like this brush. This is it's a synthetic, and it's kind of a little rough, right? So it's a little rough, which I like. So let's make sure what happened to the, okay, good. I'm here. Okay, so, yeah, it'd be nice if somebody just let me know where you're watching from. So, we did talk about the green that I used for, I think we did. Oh, I wrote it down, but we didn't chat about it. So what I'm doing is my little swatch diary is I'm doing permanent sap green, right, for the trees. Let me show you what. Permanent sap green, again with a little sepia or a little of the neutral tint to knock it back, right? Because here is the sap green, right? Which we don't want it that bright. Which is it's a beautiful color, right? It really is. And it's perfect for trees, but it's a little too bright. So when you add a touch of sepia, right? Look at that. Nice foresty green. So add a little bit of a creamy mixture, make it a little darker. Pretty much I did about 2 layers right here. And then I did a little blue mixed in with, again, the neutral tint. So it's important to kind of keep the same colors because then it's uniform. So this is the permanent sap green that I'm going to be using. And putting away this brush, using this one. So let me mix a little, and that's neutral tint right there already. So I've got a nice little puddle going, and I can just right there. And I'm going to go kind of dark at first because the tips are really dark. The back trees are dark. So I'm going to go dark and then I'm going to lift a little bit. So, and this is a great brush to do that because I can make little pointy peaks. So that's not even dark enough. I want to go even darker. There we go. So pointy peaks. All right. Make sure I'm in camera. Am I in camera? Oh, I can't tell. Okay. Let me see. Okay, there we go. All right. And then the green, the trees kind of just go down to about right here. Just a nice little angle. Get a little more green. Just keeping it simple, you know what I mean? Keeping it simple. It's all about just a little bit of information is all the viewer needs that, you know, hey, these are trees. You know, this is land back there. There we go. Any questions or anything? Leave them in the chat. Probably, since I'm going so kind of long, I still want to do the little chat Q&A there at the end. So if you have any questions, definitely get them in there. Okay, so now we have that. Let that kind of absorb for a second. Right? I kind of call it let it stain the paper. And I'm gonna rinse my brush because I get a lot of green on there. Blot it. And then what I'm gonna do is it's not as dark as the first one I did, so I think it's okay. But if you do go really dark, you can just kind of create some highlights, some different values. It's all about values, right? So we have our dark values. Now we have our really light value of green here. So we'll do it again over here. And then every time I do it, I kind of blot. And then maybe kind of make it a little lighter down here because it's closer to the sun, right? So let's make these, now that we've, as I say, stained the paper, when we lift up the paint, we still have a nice green there. It's just a lighter value. Okay, and I am going to do another layer. So I'm going to do a darker layer so I get a darker value in there. We'll see how that dries. So now those are drying. I'm going to do the blue. Like it looks more like land to me in the reference photo. So I'm going to do the blue kind of mountainy areas down here. So now I'm going to, which is really just the, it's the phthalo turquoise with a little bit of the neutral tint, right? And that's good for a first little layer there. Probably do a couple layers. So, and it kind of overlaps with the the trees. So I'm just gonna go right on top, just gonna create little mountains. And then I kind of want to keep my eye on where the sun. So it's going to kind of stop about right there. So now I'll have them meet. Make these a little bit more smooth because they're mountains. So, or it's land, whatever. All right. And then again, because this is closest to the sun, I'm going to lift that up. And then I have to make sure it's semi-straight. There we go. Okay. And that kind of it starts to pull it together. Now I'm going to rinse my brush a lot, right? Then I'm going to lift a little bit because that will create kind of like a glow from the sun. And just a light little lift. You don't really want to lift what's underneath. And then maybe like on the tips. There we go. Again, lift a little bit here. Just to get kind of some different values in there. Okay, good. So that kind of pulls it together. We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's see. This is all pretty dry. Let's see. I'm just thinking, okay, so why don't we do the reflection of the trees? And then we'll do the cattails, because that's fun. That's really fun. So, and this all is going to get a little lighter when it dries, but I kind of think it looks cool. I like how bright that got. That's from the Indian yellow. So we just need to do a few more little details, and let's just kind of figure out so the tree reflection is going to be about right here. So I think what I'm going to do is grab my smaller flat. So this is a half, okay? And just a damp brush, I'm going to go right into that green that I was using before. And this time I'm going to add a little bit of the blue. So it'll be like a dark blue-green, kind of add a little Payne's gray to it. But just, because really when the reflection in the water that I'm seeing from the reference photo, there's not a lot of green to it, but it is really dark in for the trees. So I'm going to just make a creamy, see how creamy it is? A touch of green to it there. Okay, so here we go. Let's, I'm going to go dark here. And then we can just kind of pull out a little bit. I kind of feel like I want to get a little more green in there. I don't know. It's so dark, it's going to be hard to tell if it's the dark green or dark blue. So straight up and down again to get like the ripples. and then they kind of gradually get, get a little wider. Some of them get smaller. Okay, then I'm going to just do this. I'm going to try to follow kind of what's up there. Add a little green. There we go. Okay, so you kind of get the idea there. Right? Wet my brush. Let me get a little darker. So this paper is pretty, it's kind of damp. It's dry for the most part. But what I'm going to do now is wet my brush, blot it, and then just kind of work a little bit into, kind of try to make some little ripples. And you probably can't see it on camera, but the green does kind of show through. So there is a little bit of a green to the reflection, which kind of makes it nice. And I know I'm running over, so, but I'm gonna do the cattails next. So if you can't stay, you'll be able to watch a replay. Yay! Especially if you are in the Joyful Watercolors. So if you're looking to join, I might as well do a little plug here. If you're looking to join a watercolor community, I just started the Joyful Watercolors online community, and it has a beginner's course that's available in there on joyfulwatercolors.com. And I actually have, okay, so when you get closer, so I actually have a beginner's course that's in there and lots of videos, live sessions. We do a live Zoom every couple of weeks. I do demos like this. So as it gets closer to you, you're going to have more detail, more information, right? So you can just kind of tap. You don't need to do a ton. You just kind of tap, right? And then if it turns out it's too much, you don't like it, wet your brush, rinse it, blot, just enough to reactivate and soften the edges. This is also why it's important to use good paper, because reactivating, lifting the paint, it's all so important. You can kind of see how cool that got with the wet on wet, the little bleed going on there. There's our little happy cloud right there. And then I like what happened here with the little waves. This will look probably a little better once it's dried. Oh, and then one more thing, just to kind of finish off the trees. The trees are looking really green. I want to push them back. They're too forward, and it looks funny right now because this is darker than the trees. So now that these are pretty dry, I'm going to go a lot darker like I did with this. See how dark they got? Because I want to push them back. I don't want them in the foreground. They're just information for the viewer of the type of landscape. It's not really to kind of pull it together. It's not meant for, the main subject. So that's why I want them pushed back. I'm going to add a little sepia because I really want them dark tips at least. Okay, so you can see I got pretty dark there. There we go. And you could even add some black. Don't be afraid of black. Black and yellow make a really pretty green. Make some really nice greens. So now I'm going to kind of do it as if these, like there's another row of trees in front. And don't be afraid. You can always lift if you get too dark. And like I said, lifting is actually just as important as painting with your brush. Lifting it up. lifting your paint. There we go. I hope everything is okay with the live and it didn't freeze up or anything. It's all good. Good connection. We'll see, because I will be here Thursday. Thursday is going to be more of your traditional landscape. Probably with a little house. I didn't get a chance to do it. I have the reference, but I did not get a chance to paint it. I will paint it and post tomorrow what Thursday's demo is going to be. But it's going to be focused on trying to get a little bit more about colors, color theory. See how much better that looks with it pushed back. Thursday is going to be more about color theory, how not to get mud, how to choose the right colors. I mean, I talked about color theory today, but we're going to go more into it on Thursday. Okay, let's just get kind of a dark. All right. Okay, so I don't want to fuss too much. It's not exciting to watch the super details. So let's do the fun part. Let's do the cattails. Everybody good? Do I have any questions? Let me check the chat. I don't see any comments, so I'm just going to kind of keep going. The fun brush, I'm going to do a review on these brushes. Oh my gosh. They are called Golden. And I don't know if it's from it's not from the company Golden. It's not them, or Silver. It's from a whole nother company, and I'm going to do a review on them. But these are the best for doing fine lines. So here's like a little practice sheet, right? I always recommend you have a little, not practice sheet, test sheet, right? So I have a nice clean spot for us. So what I'm going to do with, here you go, cattails here. This is just a mixture of like sepia, and then I actually am going to use more neutral tint this time because it's a little bit more purple, a little bit more violet, and that's complementary to all, to the greens that are here and to kind of everything else that's on there. So what I'm going to do is I have kind of a mixture already here, and I should use my other brush, right, to make my puddle. I don't want to use, whoa, that's a creamy neutral tint. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's neutral tint. And it's just a really pretty, kind of a neutral violet-y color. And this is by M. Graham. So all the neutral colors, or I'm sorry, all the pigments will be different per brand. So at first what I'm going to do is, I think what I'm going to do is just the stems, right? And I'm kind of testing out my color. I don't really want to add a touch of red in there just to get like a black, like a darker, kind of like that actually. Let's get a little more neutral tint. Payne's gray. There we go. That's kind of what I wanted. Okay. And these hold a ton of water, these brushes. So let's just see what this looks like. It's going to look totally different than the, see, you can do really thin lines, and then you can do really kind of a thicker one if you want, which is why they're kind of perfect for the cattails, right? So it's a little purpley. I hate to do this to you, but I don't like it. So I'm going to grab actually a little black. Don't be afraid of black. I just want to darken it all up. There we go. That's better. So a little black in with this purpley mixture really is a nice color. And it dries so much lighter that's why I want to go kind of dark at first. Now I'm going to get a watery mix because it really takes time to get your colors and your puddles right. You just got to hang in there and go with it. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, that's a good color. So, make sure I'm in camera here. Okay, it looks like I'm in camera. Okay, good. All right. Here we go. I'm just going to do some long stems first. Okay, just kind of all over the place. And as far as a reference photo, this isn't in a reference photo that I'm using. And then I said we just kind of do that. You just Google cattails and, you're not really copying the whole painting the whole photo. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you another brush to do the cattails with, but just let me show you kind of how this is kind of fun to do. And I have a lot of water on the brush and I can kind of make it look a little bit more like wildflowers. And then when I have a lot of water on the brush, you see the lighter value of that stem, which is important to have all different values, like a lighter value, a darker value of the stems. So now I'm just going to put this down. And if you get a size, actually the 4, I think I did the 2. Yeah. So the 2, I have a size 2, the Joyful Watercolors brush. You can kind of do like a stamping, right? So I'm holding the brush straight horizontal and you just do like a stamping like that. And then you can just maybe make a little blob there for like the little furry parts. And then, so we'll do some stamping here, and you don't want it perfect, you don't want it uneven. Then say you have kind of a darker area, you can rinse your brush, blot it, and then pick it up a little bit. So you get like some little dark area, some little light area, or you can just do like a little bit like that. So I'll show you here. So for example, this one is a little dark. It's all one color, right? So I'm just going to lift it up because I don't want it all one color. I want a variety of colors in there. So let's do some stamping here. Yay, we're finally to the fun part. I'm going to just kind of go a little big there. I'll go a little spot there. Right? And I'm just going to like do where I feel they should be. I'm going to do a tall one up here. Put them in camera. Do one right here, and with the white, that'll look great. And do some low ones. All right, but practice the stamping on your scratch paper for sure. I mean, do like 20 of them. So you're confident, right? And let's get some low ones here. Low ones. Maybe one right here. Okay, so now I'm going to take my other fun brush and then I'm going to just, there we go, do the stems, maybe add a little paint while it's still wet. It's kind of like doing flowers, right? While it's still wet, you can drop a little paint in there to give it some contrast. There we go. And let's get the, well, that's fun. then this one needs a stem. That one needs a stem. And then let's get just kind of going until I feel it's enough, right? I don't want to take away from the whole painting. I just kind of want it as a little addition there. And nice. Let's just see. Now, when this dries, I'll probably go in and do another layer to get it super dark. Let me grab this one, because this one's a little too one color. So there you go. Kind of makes it look like it's getting hit by the sun, kissed by the sun. And get a little, I'll drop a little color right in there so you can't really see the mountain through it. Great. So see how I'm painting, but because it's so wet, the color isn't really it's not getting dark enough. So you have to let it dry and do another layer. So I could let it. I have to do so see that this is probably 3 layers of all this. So while this is drying, let's do the birds and we'll call it a day, because you can use your size 2, or you can, try the fancy brush, but I'll just do this one. Now, when you do birds, usually like a gray is good. Again, neutral tint, Payne's gray. You can tell those are kind of my favorite colors. Sepia is good. And practice, just keep doing it on a scratch paper. If you want to find a reference photo, right? It's usually like, you don't want the M. You don't want, you don't want to do that. Oh, that one looked okay. But we want to kind of keep it simple. So there's that brush. Let's do it with the new fun brush. Yeah, it's a little too thin. So I'm going to just do the size 2. And this is pretty dark sky. This did not get as light as I thought it would. So I'm going to make sure that my little puddle here is pretty creamy, because I do want it dark, because then I have my tissue ready. If it's too dark, I can just blot it up. So I'm going to just do that. Well, let's go right. And then I usually do, so let's blot, say, part of it, right? And then if it's still if it got too light, you can just go over it and let it just kind of bleed. So that way you don't have it the same color. And then say that one's in the foreground because it's darker. Then we'll rinse our brush. And then do one that's not as dark because it's in the background. Say it's a little farther away. So we're going to do one smaller and lighter. We'll see how that looks. But that's usually pretty much it. That's less is more when it comes to the birds. Just a little suggestion. Okay, everybody. I think the only thing I would do is the second layer of these, which they're kind of drying already, so I can maybe do one more. If anybody has any questions, let me know in comments. I don't see any for Facebook. I don't see any with the YouTube. Hopefully the chat was turned on. I don't know. But let me just do I have the darker, you can see right here in the puddle, I have a darker mix on my brush right now. You can see how light they dried. Kind of looks nice. So I'm just going to get a few, you know, I can make some more, or I can just darken the ones that are there, right? Just make them a little bit more prominent, a little bit more interesting or something like that. So these are all kind of the same color. So let's darken this one because it just looks like it's closer. So the ones that are closest will be darker. So you don't want them all darker. You just want a few to create a little depth. And then I'll just do this last bit and we'll wrap it up. So if the, oh my God, the bug. Ew, ew, gross. Freaking stink bugs. Oh, I'll have to get that. Yeah, time to probably end it. I left the door open. I don't know if anybody has stink bugs where there are, but oh my God. I left the door open today. That's why, for a little bit. That's a good time to end. Okay. So, good idea just to let this dry and see what happens, because it will definitely change. But look at the little happy cloud there. All right, everybody. I don't see any comments or questions. So thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. Let's take the tape off. I mean, still have the staples there, but definitely looks different when you take off the tape. All right. Fun. Yay. So this is a good little project to do. I definitely recommend getting these brushes. These are really great, and you know, you'll use them a lot. I will put a link to everything that I recommend and that I use, all the colors. I'll put it in the description or put a link that will be on my website. So I don't see any questions. I wish maybe on Thursday you guys will let me know where you're watching from and all that. That's just always so kind of fun. So oh, okay. Oh my gosh, I finally saw a chat. Marsha, watching from Oakwood in Illinois. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry, I just saw this. I guess I was busy painting, Marsha, but yes, I am going to give a list of everything I used, and then I'll also give you the reference photo that I used as well. So I'll put a link, but I'll just make a page on my website. I'll put a link in here for follow-up, and then it'll have everything on my website. So I'll take the staples out too and give you a final photo of it. But thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thursday is going to be chatting about color theory, and I will be doing a landscape and, you know, go over how not to make mud. So we don't want to make mud. We want bright, happy colors like this, right? So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to check out now, and that was really fun. I'll see you same time, same place this Thursday. Okay, bye.